If you're a bigger full-size person and you are sick and tired of small little campers not fitting you, stay tuned. Somebody finally cracked the code on this thing.
Hey everybody, Josh RV Nerd of Bish's RV back down here at Ember once again. This is literally the Ember campground. This is where it all began. The very first Ember preview video I ever put out, it was right over here is where it happened. And fitting today then that we're taking a look at one of the newest additions to their lineup, the new Spark, the E-Series Spark. This is their newer, smaller, lighter, and single axle series. But the thing is, they're calling it the E-Series Spark because they very obviously took every effort that they could to pack all of the full E-Series size features into these smaller kind of trailers. And I can't tell you how many times I will get comments from people who are like, hey Josh, I'm taller like you, but I just don't want a big RV. I don't want to have to go get a new vehicle, but small RVs don't fit me. Do you know of anything? And generally speaking, no. This is one of the first things I've ever seen that can, a smaller, more towable, less expensive RV that can actually fit bigger, taller people more comfortably because it's a full body size. It's a full 8 foot wide and it's actually extra tall. It's 6'10" from floor to ceiling. And that's bigger than basically almost any other single axle I think I have ever seen out there. Now, in case you're kind of curious, yeah, it's a very heavy duty single axle so that can hold the weight of this because it does weigh a little bit more. It is still within the allowances of some tow package mid-size pickups or larger SUVs or lighter duty half tons. Maybe somebody wants a full-size rig, but they're not going to be camping all day, every day, living on the road kind of thing. That's where this one comes in. So that when you are out there, you can still tow small, but camp large in this thing. And what impresses me the most are how many of their big RV features are still included with this. And that's kind of stuff we're going to talk about. What this RV does, what it doesn't do, how it might work for you, and how it might not. This is the first prototype of this floor plan. I've also got a couple, hey, what do you guys think kind of things on the way. So continue to leave your feedback because your input is literally the reason this RV even exists. So basically sitting on the bed looking backwards to help you get your bearings. We're looking toward the back end of the trailer right now. Right away when you walk in, you're met with some pretty awesome things. Now, there's a couple optional pieces of equipment we're looking at today, like that big XL rain sensing fan. That's an option on this. Normally, it would just be a vent there, so kind of keep that in mind. The one you see in person might be a little bit different. But look what they did here. I've never seen a small single axle RV with this floor plan, and I've seen a lot, but I've never seen one with this floor plan with that much counter space and that much cabinet space. Because what they did here is they said, you know, this is a smaller kind of camper where a TV is not standard. We kind of feel like people are getting this thing so that they can spend a little bit more time outside. But when they are indoors, we want them to have a very functional space. So they kind of move the TV prep up by the foot of the bed, which really is very a similar location to what you find on many tandem axle versions of this floor plan. But as a result, what they created here is a lot of countertop prep type space right here. Even if the sink and the stove are in use, you still have a lot of room going on in here. Normally, these left 3 cabinets in a little trailer like this would be gone. And frankly, even 1 or 2 of these other cabinets, that'd probably be like a microwave location. So they gave us a ton of overhead cabinet storage. But what they had to do, like if I sit over here at the sofa, your TV hookups, you might see them under the overhead cabinet over the bed over there. So the TV hookup would go on the wall. Originally, they did not have that there. This is actually prototype number 2. Originally, the TV was where those 2 cabinets were there. Well, to do that, they had a window across from the bed because they've seen your comments. They know you want windows there. But to put a window there meant they had to shrink the awning down to like an 8-foot awning because there was nowhere else that it could mount because it would be in the way of things. So they didn't put a window there. They put the TV hookups there. And they gave us more cabinetry and a bigger awning. And for the type of RVing that I would use this for, the type of camping I would apply to this RV, I personally feel like that was the right decision. I don't know. What's your take on that? Now, let's also address the fact it's an east-west bed. It is a 60 by 80 true queen, which is outstanding in a small trailer like this, like a farmer in a cornfield. It's outstanding. But A lot of RVs like this have small queens. At a glance, this looks like a short queen, but this is a full 8-foot wide RV that is 6'10" from floor to ceiling. This has a much larger interior cabin space than almost anything else I've ever seen like it. And, you know, so like if you look at a Geo Pro 19 FPS, a J Feather Micro 166, anything like that, this is bigger than all of those. But that also means it's a little bit heavier, a little more expensive. Well, I'm not even sure it's more expensive than some of them, now that I say that out loud. But bigger bed with that dedicated headboard area up there. But for some folks, an east-west bed's a deal breaker. Totally respect. I get it. For some folks, a single axle's a deal breaker. I get that. You know what? They make this floor plan in the tandem axle E-Series called a 21 FBE. They make it in Touring Edition called a 20 FB. They make it in Overland Edition called a 201 FBQ. They make this floor plan single axle, tandem axle, and several different ways. So, you know, if you're wanting, get out of there. If you're wanting, you know, something else like this, but slightly different, it's available. But they're all going to be bigger, heavier, more expensive than this one right here. Now, I got a question for you. I asked this on the other version of the Spark that I did. You see these two blank, empty panels? Well, let's talk about those. There's storage behind them. And I'm personally of the belief, I think that those two panels just shouldn't be there. It's actually just one piece of paneling. They kind of wanted to have an enclosed space under the bed, so that in the event that somebody wanted to custom order a maximum solar package, which they store lithium batteries and things internally, they wanted that to be nicely tucked away. But for those of us who don't do that, I kind of like the idea of having that open face storage. I think it'll make the RV look and feel bigger. I also think you could still slide totes under there because that bed's not gas strutted. And if you put a replacement mattress on there, it's going to be so heavy. You're never going to be able to easily lift that, you know. So for me, having that open face works, not to mention a place for, like, you know, pet beds, I think could be a really handy feature. But what's your 2 cents on that? Meanwhile, I'm going to keep on moving. I want to point out how we have things like all hidden hinges, all pocket screwed lumber core cabinetry. And that's not exclusive to the Spark on a single axle RV, but it is something that a lot of them don't do, you know. And look at all of the overhead cabinet space that you have in there. It's crazy. Now, you have an open face vertical pantry over here next to that 10 cubic foot 12 volt compressor fridge. I got my vest hanging out of it on the one side there. It was too close to the door and the fridge to try to put doors on it, so enclosing that would have been problematic. And you will find that the road mode travel access on this RV, I'm not sure it could actually be much better. Amazing place for a wastebasket. You might notice they don't do a propane oven in here. We have a propane stovetop, but we do not have a propane oven. We have an air fryer convection electric microwave oven, and that's down there low. Some people don't like a low-mounted microwave. They don't want to have to bend over to get to everything, and I get that. Some people don't like a high-mounted microwave because they don't want to worry about spilling things like hot soup down their arms. I get that too. That's why there's all these different RVs. Where are my kitchen outlets? They're not under the overhead. Oh, okay. They put their kitchen outlets on the side of the countertop because this is a 1.5-inch laminated wall, so they can't really put the outlets in the walls very easily. And they didn't want to put them under the overhead cabinets because this is so tall, your cords wouldn't be able to reach anything, and that could be obviously problematic. So they put them down where you actually could reach them, which, I don't know, kind of made sense to me. Let's talk heating and cooling real quick. When you're in the Sparks, you'll go to a 20,000 BTU furnace instead of a 30, but it's a small space. I don't know that a 30,000 BTU furnace makes sense. All it would do is cause the furnace to cycle more, and it wouldn't get it any warmer in here. You know, I think that was a smart decision where they didn't overdo something. Also, they did maintain the same Furrion Chill Cube air conditioner. This little remote control right here basically does everything for it. Now, if you lose this or if the batteries go dead, there are buttons right on the unit, but this RV has a 6'10" ceiling. Some folks might struggle to reach that. This has a variable compressor output. The thing is, it never really shuts off. It's designed to run for like over 1,000 hours straight. So, you know, you're going to give it some breaks in between here and there. But it can crank up to 18,000 BTUs of cooling power. It's one of the biggest air conditioners in the towable RV market. But it's also one of the most energy efficient because once it kind of hits the temp that it needs, it will scale back its output, like it might scale down to like a 6,000, 8,000 BTU air unit so that it maintains the cool temp and it stays running at lower power. That's actually a far more energy efficient way of air conditioning in a space. That's actually what a lot of residential centralized air systems do. So I was actually really glad to see that they maintained that in here. That I think is a very smart unit. I have heard rumor that down the line, Furrion might be adding either a heat pump or a heat strip to that. We'll see if they do go through with that. All of the overhead cabinets, have you noticed how they hold themselves up? And they defy gravity, like that song. Also, blackout roller shades wherever fire code allows them is a nice touch. And this theater seat is one of the other options that's available here on the Spark. Normally, this would be a 2-bench dinette. Actually, the theater seat's smaller than the dinette, which is why they fill the space with that side stand. I love that they didn't just waste it. Here's the thing, though. That doesn't seem remarkable until you remember we're in a single-axle camper. Single axles almost never offer true theater seating because usually the slide outs are 6 to 8 inches above the floor. This one is right on top of the floor. This is a Norco Exact slide system. And it means the whole RV does sit up a little bit higher in the air. This is taller than most single axles overall exterior height, but that is what allows you to have a real, true, full 2-bench dinette with full storage below, and even a floating table that won't rip up your kneecaps, or the optional theater seat that you're looking at. And because it is a taller slide, and because it's a taller RV, you have a full theater seat and a window and the storage overhead. You get all three of those things because of its larger size and stature. If you start looking around, and there's nothing wrong with things like a Wolf Pup, a J Flight, a Geo Pro, a J Feather, an Imagine AIM. There's nothing wrong with those. They're awesome, awesome RVs. But they won't always give you all those things because they don't always have the ability to. They're not quite as big. No peekaboo, I smell you bathroom door. We do have a locking bathroom door. We also have a porcelain foot flush stool. Ember generally has a policy where they won't build a new model with a radius shower. Now, first of all, you can see how there's plenty of space around that toilet. But you might also notice very, very quickly that we obviously have a radius shower in this floor plan. Well, to keep this RV shorter in the length that it is, there was no way to get away from it. A radius shower in this floor plan does allow the full physical space of the RV to be reduced as compared to a larger rectangular shower. First of all, the headroom up there, because the RV's taller, is great, although I scrape my scalp getting into it. The headroom's great. The elbow room's a little bit, thunkety-thunk, but it's not the worst I've ever seen. For some folks, this is not a problem. For some folks, it's a big problem. It all just depends on your personal preferences. Now, here in the E-Series, they don't do like the shower miser water saver system that they do on Overland, or I think even in Touring. And on your feedback, even here at their basic product, they have changed their entire family of trailers over to feature stainless sinks with a little bit higher rise on the faucet so that you can actually get in there. Did you notice, though, when I was on the toilet, there was actually some really good leg room around this? I wanted to open this up, one, just so you could see the space, but two, to showcase a little bit of the plumbing. You might notice that they're only using like PEX on PEX, where there are some reasons in the RV for plumbing code reasons. They may have to use a flex hose, but where they do that, they use one with purpose-built end fittings so that they're not trying to crimp a flex hose onto a PEX fitting, which has a way sometimes of wiggling loose and potentially causing dribbles and leaks in the RV over time. So and also every single water line, hot and cold, has its own individual shutoff valve. They've still provided those peace of mind features here. It's just one of those, it's like a golden thread. They will do it on every product they make. And the road mode access is basically 100%. This, I think, absolutely qualifies for A+ travel access. I could actually see there are some folks I call slide skeptics. There are some no slide fans out there who I'd be kind of curious. Like, I've never considered an RV with a slide. I might consider this. Let me know if that might apply to you here, because even when this big slide is closed, you can still fully fit through this thing. And because that's a Norco slide and the way that Ember builds their slides, you could even sit in the dinette or the theater seat or sleep somebody in the dinette or lay a little kid across the theater seat while it's retracted. And almost no other RV slide systems in the world of towable RVs allow you to do that. Now, quick little note here in the bathroom, I showed it to you. That is a Max Air fan in the bathroom here. It's a smaller one, but it actually has a rain blocking cover built right onto it from the factory. It's a smaller room. It's a less expensive coach. They don't go with the big full-on mega fan in here until you like option it into the living area, basically. And if you want a bigger fan in the bath, call us. We can do that stuff. And then just one last thing, just to drive this home, just to demonstrate. Now, I was careful when I sat down. I didn't plop myself down onto this thing, but the slide is obviously retracted. I can still sit in this thing while it's fully retracted, won't cause it problems. That is a very different factor for some folks. And again, it almost makes me look at this and ask, does this even need a slide out? I am going to ask the audience again. Would you be interested in a version of a floor plan like this with no slide? I feel like somebody has to try it sometime, right? The trick with these, having things like the ability to have a true theater seat and not just a jackknife sofa, because they actually have a flush floor that is not penetrated by wheel wells, and the fact that it's taller, and the fact that it's 8 foot wide, means that this RV is a little bit bigger than most single axles. Now, of course, they put the axle rating on this that it needs to handle that, but it is at the more upper ranges of some tow package mid-size pickup kind of handling. There are some bigger SUVs, some lighter duty kind of half tons that would definitely pull this around with ease, comfort, for sure. Power tongue jack on the front. Again, double propane axles. The superior stabilizer jacks, including front stabilizers. Those are the things a lot of single axles do not have. I guess I can't say this enough. The only thing about this RV that is symptomatic of being a single axle is just the east-west bed and the fact that it actually is a single axle. Everything else about this RV looks, feels, reads like a tandem axle rig. Whether it's, the extra tall interior height, the bigger air conditioner, all that stuff, The slam latch baggage doors with the magnet holdbacks. The prep for a full observation camera suite, meaning not just rear view cameras, but also side view cameras. The Spark series, it does have some options that are standard on the full tandem axle E series. Like you still have a gas grill cooker hooker down here. We still have an enclosed underbelly, but the holding tank heat pads, those are going to be optional here on the Spark. It's actually very easy to determine though if the one that you're looking at has the tank heaters on it, because there's going to be a switch in the passenger. I'll show you where that is in a few minutes. Here, it's on the other side. Goodyear tires. They probably could have gone. They didn't necessarily have to go, a Goodyear tires and Dexter axles. If their goal was to just be the cheapest, most cutthroat single axle out there, they could have done more cutthroaty stuff. They could have got rid of the Asdel on the walls. They could have made the floor not aluminum framed. They didn't do any of those things. They continued to do everything they could to make it a nicely appointed, albeit smaller kind of RV. Like when we get around the back side here, it still has the receiver hitch on the back, so that if you want to be able to add a bike rack or something, because this one doesn't have like a convertible cargo bunkhouse where you could do something like that. And I am currently standing over here in the weeds, probably getting a nice dose of poison ivy up my backside over here. Not the most fun thing. It's still a walkable roof. We have that ladder prep on the back there, and we already kind of talked about the camera prep. There are less expensive slide systems. They stuck with the exact slide system because, again, that lets you use the slide while it's retracted, which is a very handy feature that some people look for. So they wanted the road mode on this. They wanted getting there to be just as good as being there. Single sewer outlet, those kind of handy convenience features. Now this is more of an extended season rig. The E-Series family does not carry the 0 to 100 degree rating that Overland and Touring do. So you have a more basic docking center here, and it is a little bit more weather exposed. This is something made for spring, summer, fall, maybe earlier spring, later fall, but that's kind of where this one is. They're not trying to overpromise and underdeliver on what this one can do. I'm not joking, by the way. I've got myself all up in the weeds to try to get you this footage today. Moving on from here. The other side of the pass-through, like you can also see your tankless on-demand water heater over here. But this area of the RV right here can really tell you several of the options that might be applied to the Spark that you're looking at. For instance, they're all going to be TPMS prepped. That's the bottom right. they're all going to have portable solar prep. That's the upper right black plug. You see the battery disconnect nicely tucked away. But the bottom left black switch, that's your tank heater switch. That will only be there if the tank heaters are applied. But then we got the blue box and the gray box. Those are, look, oh my gosh. Look at how nicely finished the pass-through is. It didn't even register to me now. Like, you're not seeing just raw wood skeleton. They didn't have to do that, but it sure does look nice. I think that's how I'd rather have it. It is nice. They also have motion lighting in the pass-through. You can kind of see it peeking over there on the other side. Still good details on this, just smaller. But the gray box and the blue box, what are we looking at here? So while I work my way out of the pricker bushes here, you'd never believe it, nerdy idiot that I am, actually grew up stomping around woods like this here, so it kind of feels normal. I know there's certain leaves, like, you know, leaves of 3, let them be. You don't want to wipe your backside with those, trust me. Regardless, solar. By default, this has none. By default, it's solar and inverter prepped. If you look up the option sheet, there's an option to get there. They call it like off-grid extended or something like that package. The name has changed recently. It's dual 200 watt solar panels, so 400 watts of solar, and a 30 amp MPPT charge controller and a 2000 watt inverter. Those are the blue and the gray boxes respectively that we saw. There have been some people who have been saying, you know, your Overland product now has a 1200 watt solar package with 3000 watt inverter that we're kind of interested in. Actually, what's crazy is on that Overland Max Solar package, the new version of it, in certain circumstances, not all the time, probably not most of the time, but in some instances in peak sun coverage, they have actually been reaching net positive charge even with the air conditioner rolling, because that Furrion Chill Cube can pull so little juice. So there are some times where you actually could charge the batteries while running the air with that. Not all the time. And let's not mince words. It's an expensive package. We're talking multiple thousands of dollars for that package. Is it available here? Not technically, but if that's something you want, you're willing to give us a call, we'll make the call for you and basically say, listen, you want to sell a unit, put that package on there. They kind of left the space under the bed specifically for it, expecting this question. It is something you could probably get if you were interested. I don't know. Would you want that on an RV like this? So remember, this is the solo or couples camper model. They also have several of these Sparks coming out, but the 19 ETS, I should already have a video out there for it. If you like that kind of convertible Ember track system, ETS basically, where you've got the bunks that could go away, become an office or something. That one also exists. It even has washer dryer prep. They have also basically cornered the market on single axles with washer dryer prep. I've never seen a lot of other builders do that in the US market anyway. Stuff like that sometimes a little more common overseas, but they are not trying to be the same as everybody else. They're trying to do something a little bit different here, and I think I like that. I like how it fits where nothing else does. At least in my nerdy opinion. What do you think of this thing? Did they nail it? Did they fail it? I'll also leave you links to check out pricing and availability in the video description. And when you're ready, we're ready. So until then, take care, stay safe, have fun, and happy camping, everyone.